Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is David Talbot, Managing Director and Head of Research at Red Cloud Securities, and I'm delighted to host a Red Cloud webinar on uranium today. We will hear from Azincourt Energy Management, including Alex Klenman, CEO, and Trevor Perkins, VP Exploration. During today's webinar, they will provide an overview and outlook of the company, and then we will get on to some questions. You can type your questions into the chat box at any time, and we will get to as many as we can. But before we kick things off, first we need to discuss the fine print. During this Azincourt webinar, forward-looking statements may be made. I would direct listeners to their forward-looking statements outlined on page 2 of the Azincourt corporate presentation. They can be found on the company's website, azincourtenergy.com. For Red Cloud Securities, I'd highlight this webinar is for information purposes only. It should not be considered a solicitation or recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note this call does not consider the particular situation or needs of individual investors, and participants should really rely on their own investigation and seek their own professional advice before investing. Please see our most recent research located on the Red Cloud website for specific disclosures on Azincourt Energy. Now, before Alex and Trevor step up, I would like to say a couple words. First of all, a plug for our upcoming Oktoberfest conference over 3 days. That's October 18th, 19th, and 20th. We will have presentations from 85 companies that will include 17 uranium companies, including Azincourt, and a keynote address from Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. Attendees can register at redcloudfs.com. Now, uranium prices have been on a tear in 2021, and more specifically since early August, at least until recently. While 30 to 32 bucks a pound's been normal range for most of the year, the UX broker average did peak at 51.12 on September 17th. And we do believe that movement was due to both uranium price trading volumes and to speculation. Now, this activity spurred on a run on the uranium equities. And as usual, with periods of stark volatility in the commodity price, we see this investment risk reward play out in the stocks. Now, the producers were up sharply, I'd say about 40% month on month, but the explorers and developers were up even more, between 50 and 60% as groups month over month. Now, the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, they issued $245 million in equity through early mid-September, and during that time, they purchased 6.5 million pounds, driving up prices from 30 to 40 bucks. And then Sprott decided to increase its shelf prospectus from 300 million to 1.3 billion, and this led to additional equity raising and buying in the market. And we do believe some of that has played out. But we have cautioned of too much too soon. We would love to see a more sustainable rise in the spot market so we don't get these rapid pullbacks that we're now seeing in uranium prices. We saw the daily uranium price pull back to about 40 bucks, to under 40 bucks as of yesterday. Over the past 2 weeks, the stocks have also pulled back, but I'd say they still look to be up between 5 and 10% over the past month or so. As a group, there are some winners in there that have news that are driving those stories as well. Now, we do expect Sprott to provide a re-rating in the uranium market, but we also believe that long-term contracting is the most important driver. The world uses 177 million pounds of uranium annually, and as spot and term prices both rise and converge, we believe long-term contracting will increase. So bottom line here, we like the fundamentals for driving uranium prices higher. With disinvestment in the sector, there's been a lack of exploration and discoveries, and new mines will be needed in the coming years to replace mine closures, let alone to replace to cover the growth in uranium demand. So with that said, I'm now going to turn it over to Alex and Trevor to update the audience on the company.
Excellent intro. Thank you, Dave, and a good overview. I agree with your sentiments there, and I think a lot of people do. So we're happy that we're at where we're at, and maybe it was a little much too soon, too quick, but no one will argue with that. It's good to wake up from that prolonged bear market, which for many of us, seemed to be a lifetime. In any case, we'll get right to it. Azincourt, as many of you are aware, we're a uranium exploration and development company. We trade on the TSX Venture under the symbol AAZ, and in the U.S. on the OTCQB as AZURF. And we're also on the Frankfurt Exchange. There's our standard disclaimer that everybody's read 1,000 times. Won't make you read it again, but it's on our website. It's on our deck. You can read it anytime. As Dave mentioned, we're a big believer in the supply-demand fundamentals of the uranium sector. We have been for some time. It's one of the reasons why we stayed on our East Preston project at the tail end of that bear, despite the challenges of raising capital to do so. And we're happy we've done that. Quick overview of management. I'm the president, CEO, and director. I got involved with Azincourt in July of 2017. Things weren't going well for the company, and I knew Ian Stalker, the chairman, quite well, and Ian wanted me to come in and see if I can revitalize the company a little bit. And last year we brought on Trevor. We wanted somebody with firsthand exploration success in the basin and elsewhere, with uranium in particular, and Trevor has done that in his career. So we're happy to have Trevor, and recently moved him from the exploration manager title to VP exploration. So he's playing a very big role in what we're doing moving forward. Our board is comprised of two other geologists, Ted O'Connor and Paul Reynolds. Ted was the CEO of Plateau Energy Metals, which was recently bought out by American Lithium. They've got a unique project in Peru. He spent 20 years at Cameco, knows the basin as well as anybody. Paul is an overall very strong geologist over several different disciplines, and Vivian is our CFO. So we have a pretty lean and mean management team, not a lot of overkill there, and we're going to keep it that way. Obviously, the industry overview we've spoken to and about. We like all of these things, reactors under construction and plans, and it's heading in the right direction. And as a clean energy source, many people are waking up to the fact that we have it right here with nuclear. And we have two projects of note, in particular, the East Preston project, which is our primary and our flagship project. We actually control a little more than 70%, having spent to a little over $2.5 million and paid $1 million in cash to our option partners. But we've now picked up a little bit more than that 70, the Dixie Gold component. They have not been participating in the joint venture activities, so we've picked up their percentage points. So we're north of 70 now, and if things play out along that road, we'll end up with between 80 and 85% of the project before too long. We also have projects in Peru. The Escalera project in particular is a very prospective property. It's not too far away from the aforementioned PLU or American Lithium project at Makisani. So we'll get into that momentarily. As you know, we're working in the Western Athabasca. The Athabasca is known for the largest, highest grade uranium deposits in the world. It's had uranium mining and production for decades, and it's obviously a stable environment to work in terms of geopolitical concerns or geopolitical risk. We're in the Western Athabasca, which is a really good place to be for a junior. Our targets are shallower than the basin itself, and we can speak to that in the technical slides that Trevor's going to get you through. But here's a quick peek at our neighborhood, as we call it, the Western Athabasca, where we are in particular. We're surrounded by billions of market cap. These were the market caps in our neighborhood as of this morning, and you can see Azincourt down there as one of the smallest caps in the district. But we border NextGen, we border Orano. You can see, so we're in a high rent district for a small cap explorer. The East Preston itself is a 25,000 hectare project with multiple kilometers in prospective targeting. We've got over 25 kilometers of trend that we are targeting, and that target inventory has just grown. Trevor will speak to that. We've got more than we did heading into this year, so we're happy with that. It's a fair amount of exploration to date. Most of it's been on the geophysical and geochemical side. We've done multiple different surveys to determine different things, and we've just begun really to drill it. 17 holes to date. We'll speak more to that now. So Trevor, I'm going to hand it over to you. You can move through the technical slides and get everybody up to date as to why we're as excited as we are. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alex. So as Alex mentioned, Azincourt has been involved in the East Preston project since 2017. The project itself has been active since about 2013, 2014. Initially, the project was covered with airborne EM surveys to identify conductive corridors within the property. And we mainly focus on these, or look for these conductive corridors, because typically in the Athabasca Basin, all of the uranium deposits, the unconformity style and related basement deposits, are associated with conductive rock packages within the basement units. Therefore, these represent our first indication of the areas we want to focus on first. As you can see with the figure here, we highlighted two main conductive corridors through the central portion of the property. Our AG trend, which is identified as A on the map, and our KHQ trend, which is identified as our B and C areas on the map. Now, as you can see, there are also several parallel trends to this west of these two main corridors, which have been identified as targets that are on our target list, but they're not a focus of our activities at this time. But we will get to them as we work through our target inventory on the property. To the east of our main focus, our corridors of main focus, we also have a few targets that look more like bullseyes or little stretched ovals on this map. Those are also areas of interest that we will focus in on at some point later in the project's development. So moving to the next slide, after we identified the areas with the airborne surveys, we then came in and ran ground HLEM surveys over these conductive packages to identify exactly where within this corridor the actual conductor is located. We need to nail down exactly where in that package we want to drill. The airborne survey is very good for getting us in the area. We then need to actually go in on the ground with a closer spaced survey to say where exactly in that package we want to be. So between 2017 and 2021, numerous HLEM and gravity surveys were run over these trends to help us focus in exactly where these conductive packages would be. So now looking at those individual conductive corridors, this map now shows the grid lines that were run, but we've shown there's squiggly lines on the map showing where the actual conductors were identified. And we also have the colored background showing where we're seeing a gravity signature, where the rocks are more dense or less dense. Typically where we get a gravity low, which is our blue and green colors, we've got a lot of structural disruption within the rock, showing us that that's where the broken up ground is. That's where the ground prep to allow fluid movement through the rocks is. And what we really want to see is we want to see where that gravity low and the conductive packages line up, where they're in the same place, because that shows us we have potentially the right lithologies and we've got the structure. So we have the right setting to have the fluids moving through. As you can see on this map, this is just focusing in on a small portion of the property, but there are numerous good targets here that we do need to test at some point. So on to drilling. Now we've run the geophysics. We now have to drill. Drilling is still the best way to actually find a deposit. The geophysics gets you in the area. The drilling is the truth in that the method is working. So to date, there have been 17 holes for just under 4,200 meters drilled on the property. The main focus of the drilling to date has been on the A and AB zones. With recent drilling we have run just starting to touch the top of the G zone. Now, this drilling has shown us we have elevated trace element geochemistry and base metal pathfinders that tell us we're in the right neighborhood. We've also got elevated uranium in a couple of holes. So, and we're also seeing, I believe it's in the middle of the AB zone, we've got some elevated rare earths as well. So we've got lots of fluids moving through the rocks, lots of interesting things happening. And this drilling to date has told us we have the right lithologies. We're seeing graphitic basement rocks. We're seeing multiple phases of structure through those basement rocks. As you can see on this map, with the glowing red lines highlight where the actual conductive units are. And we see breaks in those conductors. We see bends in those conductors. Those are also showing us we have potential cross-cutting structures coming through, really breaking up the ground, giving us lots of room for uranium fluids to pool and deposit the uranium, drop the uranium out of solution and give us our deposits. So now we just have to drill all of those breaks, all of those bends, and find where exactly we want to be on this trend to focus in for more detailed work, which is what our process will be moving forward. So in 2021, we ran the latest 5 holes of the 4,200 meters I talked about. We had initially planned to do a 10-hole program. We had to cut it short due to weather constraints, so we only ended up doing 5 holes. These were focused on the AB and the top of the G zones. We're seeing, as we move south, we're seeing elevated uranium. We're seeing good structures, good lithologies, telling us we're on the right track. So, and our best elevated uranium so far has been in the bottom 3 holes that we drilled, the southern 3 holes that we drilled this winter. In the summer, we've ran an airborne radiometric survey over the southern half of the property. This was a part of the property that hadn't been covered with airborne radiometrics yet. So as this is the area we're moving into with the drilling, we wanted to make sure we had another tool in our toolbox to make sure we were focusing in on the best targets first. So this survey has definitely shown us that our southern ends of our G zone and our H and Q zones are responding the best radiometrically. So those are the areas we definitely wanted to focus in on. But there are no shortage. The red and the brighter red and purple colors are the areas we want to focus with higher radiometrics as well, and where those line up with conductive packages and gravity lows, we're starting to tick off all the boxes that tell us where we want to be. And as you can see on this map, there is no shortage of radiometric targets to be followed up in the future as well. So moving forward, what we're looking at now, as I've already alluded to, drilling is now our best tool. We've identified where we want to be. We now have to drill it. So this is going to be the more time consuming and the most expensive part of the process coming up now. So we're looking at a program for starting the winter of 2022 of between 6,000 and 7,000 meters in 30 to 35 drill holes. Our current plan is to have this drilling start where we left off in this past winter on the G zone, work down our G zone, see what areas are responding, any we may want to go back into with more detailed work, and then move over to our H and our Q zones to the east as well. So our current schedule, we have road work in the area. We'll be starting to build our winter roads into the area in mid-December, with camp construction later in the month, with the idea being that in early to mid-January, we'll be moving our drill rigs in and starting to drill. Now we're trying to get all of this done in a winter drill program, as drilling in the summer is not the easiest thing to do in this area with access. So the more we can do in the winter, the better things are. So we'll probably be bringing in 2 drill rigs to do this work, and we expect it to last 2.5 to 3 months. And our planned budget for this work is between $2.3 and $2.5 million.
Great.
And that's over to you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. A couple things I'll follow up on that. Obviously, when you see a $2.3 million budget, that's a significant spend for a small company. We're obviously probably going to eat up 85% of that, with Sky Harbor picking up 15%. But then our treasury's strong, so we can continue to do these types of drill programs well into the foreseeable future. We have a very strong treasury, which we'll speak to after I get through Peru. So we have another group of projects down in Peru. This is the Picotani Plateau. Up here is the Macusani deposit, which is a uranium/lithium deposit, and that was held by Plateau Energy Metals, which was recently bought out by American Lithium. And looks like, from what I'm hearing, that American Lithium might be looking to sell their uranium, 100 million pounds, in that they might divest themselves or spin out the uranium itself into something. But that's a big deposit, and when you look at the area, it's just a remarkable place geologically. It's one of the most unique places on the planet. The volcanics, the regional activity have generated an enormous amount of base metals, precious metals, obviously uranium and lithium, and it's a neat place to work. And we have 3 projects. The Escalera group, or the Escalera project itself, is our primary focus down in Peru, and I'll get to a little bit more here as we move along. In 2018, after we picked up the project, we did some prospecting and some groundwork. Some of the samples that came in were quite robust. You can see this particular rock here was almost 1% U3O8. So it's good things to see it at surface. Other high grade or higher elevated rocks were found. From that, we were able to put together basically two different trends on the project. This one in particular is about 4.5-5 kilometers. And this one is a little smaller. And then we have a cluster of lithium that we want to follow up on as well. Now, it's an intriguing project. But it's certainly not a focus of ours. It's a good secondary project to have. We're not quite sure what our plans are. We were going to go down later in 2021. Earlier this year, we made plans to do that, but there's COVID issues and travel issues that are presenting some challenges. So we'll see where we go. It's not a huge priority right now. Obviously, our main focus is East Preston. We believe we're on the cusp of something there, and we're going to continue to apply capital and time and effort at East Preston. Our capital structure as of October 7th, we have 434 million shares out. I know a lot of retail investors worry about numbers like that, but I'll tell you that we've just raised about $8 million from institutional funds, and they don't have any worry whatsoever. So as much as that may concern some people, you're going to see higher share counts in the uranium space, particularly any company that's been around in the uranium space, simply a byproduct of having to finance in cheap, bad market, essentially a bear market, and being forced to do so at perhaps depressed prices. That warrant total has changed. I don't have the updated warrant total. I will get that, but I think it's interesting to note here a couple of things. Our treasury is north of $10.5 million. And we have to date now 18 institutional funds in the deal, which is about 40% of our float. So quite an interesting dynamic for a pre-discovery drill company. But I think this speaks to this level of support speaks to the sector and the belief where the sector is going, and also the validity of the East Preston project in particular. These funds don't I guess, just throw money at anybody. So having done their due diligence, I think they're of the opinion that this is a very good place to put some of their money. So we're happy to have that support. It's going to allow us to do a lot of drilling. If you do the math, obviously you see 10.5. We're probably going to end up a little closer to 12 million when the final tranche closes. And if we're doing $2.5 million drill programs, we can do a lot of drilling over the next couple of years. So we're excited about that. Insiders, family, and friends, we've got about 20% of what's out there, or we did prior to this raise. That'll be diluted out a little bit, although we did participate in the financing ourselves. So that's the latest. That's the greatest. Hopefully, you guys have some questions, and we can get you guys up to date on anything in particular that you are wanting. So, Dave, back to you.
Great. Thank you for that, Alex and Trevor. Great presentation as always. So now we're going to kick off the Q&A portion of the webinar. Reminder to everybody online that you can type your questions into the text box at any time, and we will get to as many as we can. So, guys, you have projects in Peru, but besides that, would you consider acquiring any projects outside of the Athabasca Basin?
Yeah, we would consider it. We're also considering projects within the Athabasca. That's a double-edged sword, Dave, because, as much as we'd love to expand our wings and maybe bolster our portfolio, we don't want to send a message, the wrong message. And we know that the market moves quite well on dog whistles. So if we go out and pick up a project in the Athabasca while we're drilling East Preston, are we telling people that we don't believe in East Preston? If in fact we do pick something up, it's not because we don't believe in East Preston. It certainly would look at bolstering our portfolio with an additional project or two. One of the other problems we have right now is obviously we'd be paying higher prices. So we're doing a due diligence process here on several different projects that have come to our attention, and that'll develop over time.
Okay. And if you do go out and buy a project or acquire another project, would you be looking at something that's similar, maybe grassroots that you've got to build up your targets on, or would you be looking for something that might be a little bit more advanced?
Yeah, that's a good question. I see Trevor's reaction there. We would like to get something that removes that one question: where's the mineralization? So if we can do that, then we'll make that move. I think overall it's a good time to be looking. Again, my only fear is what are we paying for it? But if spot gets to $80 or $100 a pound, that's not the time to go buy it. So maybe now is the best time. So we're looking at some things right now, and Trevor is doing his due diligence on several projects I've thrown his way, and we'll see where it goes.
Great. Okay. Thank you. As far as ownership at East Preston, right? You I guess you earned into your 70%. It looks like Dixie Gold is being diluted out. Are you increasing your project interest, or is that combining with Sky Harbor as well?
I've had really good conversations with Jordan Trimble at Sky Harbor, who's been a great partner from day one of our engagement, and I can't speak more highly than I do of Jordan. We've had brief conversations. We could end up in an 80-20. I wouldn't be opposed to that, nor am I opposed to 85-15. So that would somewhere in between there is probably where we're going to land.
Okay. Either way, you have full control.
100%. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, at East Preston, you do seem focused on those north-south conductive corridors, perhaps maybe more akin to Shea Creek well to the north. But do you really see any of the east-west trending structures like you might at, Fission's Triple R or NextGen's Arrow deposit?
Trevor, that's definitely up your alley.
We are seeing evidence that those east-west structures are probably present. The exact significance of them yet is unknown because we haven't actually managed to definitively say we've drilled one yet.
Okay. So is that something that you're going to look at, or is that just over time you're going to keep targeting what you're targeting?
Well, definitely areas where these potential east-west structures are intersecting our northeast trending main structure are areas we want to key in on, because anywhere you have the intersecting structure is where you have an opportunity to upgrade any potential deposit that's there, get a larger, higher grade deposit at these structural intersections.
Okay, so you're specifically targeting the central portion of the property. That's where that main north-south conductive trend is. What are your preferred geophysical survey tools to help you try to hone in on what your targets are?
Well, the first tool we're going to use, of course, is any of the electromagnetic surveys that help us define exactly where the conductive packages will be. And then, of course, gravity also helps us to identify where we're seeing weaker rock units where the structures are potentially coming through. So anywhere that we have gravity and an EM anomaly, and even better if it's got a ground radiometric anomaly associated with it as well, those are the three tools we're mainly going to use to get us in the ballpark before we drill.
Okay. And maybe I think you've already answered this, but maybe why did the bends and breaks, what do the bends and the breaks in the conductors represent? Why are you trying to hit those areas first?
Well, typically what they will indicate is a potential area for a cross structure, whether it be an east-west or a northwest trending structure that is breaking or offsetting our dominant northeast trending structure. Again, because cross structures upgrade the target.
Okay.
So that's why we work on the bends and break.
Okay. Good. And the radiometric survey you did recently here, does that actually show a response from the basement rocks? Are you able to see through the overburden in the area, the deep sound and gravel? Or was the purpose really to find radioactive boulders, much like what led to Fission's RRR discovery?
Good question.
The main focus is to look for radioactive boulders. But fortunately, in the area, especially on the south end of the G trend, we have a lot of exposed outcrop. So the survey would have actually been reading the radiometrics, the radioactive results from the outcrop as well. So not only were we looking for boulders, we were eventually also finding radioactive outcrops and radioactive features within various outcrops.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little different than your neighbors to the north. I think they're up to, 50 meters worth of overburden over top of them. So are you guys entirely outside of the Athabasca Basin and thus basement-hosted deposits are really your only target?
Yes.
Or can you target mineralization at the unconformity? It sounds like you don't have overlying sandstone, so you can't target unconformities.
No, we're definitely looking below the unconformity. Where we are, we estimate we could be anywhere from 20 meters to as much as 100 meters below where the unconformity surface may have originally been.
Okay. And then let's maybe step back to that radiometric survey. Did you find any boulder fields that are worthy of follow-up, or even some that you really don't know what the source might be?
We've definitely found some interesting boulders and outcrops. I can't say much more about them at this point because samples are still outstanding for them.
Okay. How are your sampling? I'm assuming you send it to Saskatchewan Research Council, but
Yes.
How quick is their turnover?
Typically, they look at 4 to 6 weeks, but if they're busy, that could stretch out as much as 8 weeks. And right now, a lot of companies are ending up summer programs, so things are a bit slower right now.
Yeah. Okay. And last year, a lot of companies' drill programs were really half of what were expected, yours included. Are you going to try to get your drills on the ground earlier this winter, or should we see another early spring?
We're hoping to be drilling the first week in January, second week in January at the absolute latest is when we're hoping to be drilling to give us lots of time to complete our meterage. We would rather pull out early because we've used our budget than be forced to pull out early because our roads are breaking up like they did last year.
Right. And I'll add to that. I think this is the first time actually that because the market's turned and we have interest and we're well funded, that we can actually be drilling that first week of January. In the past, funding lots of things conspired against us, and we were generally working to get the drills in the ground a little later than what was optimal. So in this case, we're certainly going to get a very robust and lengthy drill program done.
Yeah. How difficult is it for you to get a winter road into your project? And I'm assuming that's really the key here, because I don't think you're really drilling over water once you're on site.
No, I mean, putting in any winter road is difficult, but we've done it enough times now that we know where the problem areas on our road are, so we can allow for that and get the road in reasonably quickly. The trick will be getting it in early enough and giving it a good chance to freeze up good before we have heavy traffic on it.
Okay. Nope, sounds good. I guess, you guys have $10 million in the bank right now, perhaps 12 million coming. What's the budget of your winter program, assuming you want to get those 35 holes completed?
It's about between 2.3 and 2.5 million dollars is where we're targeting the budget being right now.
Okay.
Which led to my comment earlier about, look, we can do this 35 holes and still potentially have around 10 million. So, that leads to several rounds of drilling here over the next couple of years. We're set to do that, and that's a great feeling. So we know we can now drill at that level for a sustained period of time and maybe get that discovery sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Now, would it be problematic to get another rig in there to drill quicker? I'm hearing the issue is not really the rigs, it's the drillers.
Yeah.
Well, we're currently planning for 2 drill rigs for the winter program, because we do estimate that at typical drilling rates, we'd be hard pressed to complete the program with 1. So we're already going in with 2. I wouldn't want to go any more than 2 rigs till we actually are on to something.
Okay. Good. I guess changing gears here a little bit. How much focus are you giving the Peruvian asset these days? Does the market give you any value for that project?
I don't know. Good question. I do get a fair amount of interest from investors and shareholders wanting to know, particularly the lithium component down there. That's of interest. It was more of a priority for us in 2018 when we picked it up, because the market was so weak for uranium and there was lithium upside there, and I was very well aware of what PLU Plateau was doing. And the modeling for mineralization there for us is very similar to the modeling and the mineralization up at Macusani. So that's why we did that. We actually had a line on further project ground in the area, but when uranium started to turn and our focus became more and more on East Preston. Look, the main focus for us was, and always was, to gain that majority interest in the project. So what we didn't want to do was finally cross that finish line and then divert our attentions elsewhere, because that was a struggle. That was walking up a sand dune that seemed to have no end, right? So we did that. We managed to do that, and so we're going to stay focused on East Preston. But Plateau, or the Peruvian project, can give us some upside down the line. We own it 100%, so we can walk. If we replace it with something else, or we can choose to continue to develop it. And so right now we haven't got any immediate plans. That isn't to say something might not materialize early in 2022. Depends on Peru, depends on travel, depends on COVID and some other things that we can't control.
Okay, so it sounds like that project is similar, right? It's a potentially extensive rhyolite-hosted uranium plus lithium in close proximity to each other. I guess similar to the Plateau, or I guess the now American Lithium project.
Correct. Yeah, that is the modeling that we applied and we looked at, and that was suggested to us. That isn't to say we can replicate what they did up further up on the Plateau, but you like to see those characteristics, particularly in that area.
Yeah. Is that project drill ready? If you decided to, can you? No. Okay.
Not yet. No. we're close. I mean, what I'd really like to do is send Trevor on an airplane down there and get him on the ground, and then see where we're at from there. We did one really good visit with a really excellent geologist, and we're quite surprised at the results. So I think there's a lot of upside there, but Peru's a little tricky, and COVID doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah. Okay. Just a couple more questions then. Do you have any plans to list into the U.S.? Either OTC or even the NASDAQ? Or?
Yeah. No, we're in the queue for QB, and they've been forcing, the OTC markets have been basically forcing now with some changes everybody into QB. There's no longer it's not very desirable just to be pink sheets. So we're in that queue. We've been on this for months. We had a number of things happen along the journey to get to QB. So we're just around the corner, and that'll be where we sit for the meantime. And we'll see. Look, if we make that discovery in the next year or so, and our market cap grows, we can look to upgrade that listing to the next tier.
Okay. And are you seeing additional institutional investment in the company this year? It looks like you're up to 40%. Yeah,
no, remarkable amount of interest. As I mentioned, we're up to around, there's 18 different institutional funds here in that have invested into Azincourt, Canadian funds, U.S. funds, Australian funds, European funds, really money coming from all over the planet. And it's as I said prior to us going on the air today, in December of 2019, things were pretty bleak. November of 2019, I think we were trading at 2 cents, and we had a couple 100,000 in the bank, and there was a lot of pressure on me to make a call. And luckily I didn't deviate from the plan, and so here we are. So we're in a really good position, and thanks to the institutional support, we're able to really develop East Preston now.
Perfect. Okay. Any other milestones pending before winter drilling?
No, we have those the samples from this southern section, the results from the survey done on the southern section. Maybe we'll see something there in the next few weeks. But we're really focused on the targets that we've already generated. We're going to begin to become a little bit more visible to a lot of people as we head into the drill program. But we're raring to go, and we're only it's October 7th, so we're a couple months, 60 days out from getting the road preps going, and it's going to be exciting.
Perfect. Okay. Well, why don't we leave it at that, guys? So, thank you, Alex, Trevor from Azincourt Energy. It's been great talking to you today.
Thank you, Dave. Always happy to do this, and appreciate what you guys are doing for us. Appreciate it. Thank you.
For sure. So thank you, everybody else, for tuning in. Red Cloud will be back on Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to sit down with GoviX Uranium. That's October 12th at noon Eastern. So make a note that time is a little bit earlier than the usual 3 p.m. So at noon. And a reminder that our Oktoberfest conference is from October 18th, 19th, 20th, and you can sign up at redcloudfs.com. So with that, have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.